The attack on Pearl Harbor was a surprise military strike by the Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service on the American Naval Base at Pearl Harbor in Honolulu, Hawaii, in the United States, just before 8 a.m. on Sunday, December 7, 1941. At the time, the United States was a neutral country in World War II. The attack on Hawaii and other U.S. territories led to the United States to formally enter World War II on the side of the Allies. The day following the attack, on December 8, 1941, the Japanese military leadership referred to the attack as the Hawaii Operation and Operation Z during its planning. The Empire of Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor was preceded by months of negotiations between the United States and Japan over the future of the Pacific. Japanese demands included that the United States end its sanctions against Japan, cease aiding China in the Second Sino-Japanese War, and allow Japan to access the resources of the Dutch East Indies. Anticipating a negative response, Japan sent out its naval attack groups in November 1941, just prior to receiving the whole lot, which states the United States' desire that Japan withdraw from China and French Indochina. Japan intended the attack as a preventive action. Its aim was to prevent the United States Pacific Fleet from interfering with its planned military actions in Southeast Asia against overseas territories of the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and the United States. Over the course of 7 hours, Japan conducted coordinated attacks on the US-held Philippines, Guam, and Wake Islands, and on the British Empire in Malaya, Singapore, and Hong Kong. The attack on Pearl Harbor started at 7:48 a.m. Hawaiian time. The base was attacked by 353 Imperial Japanese aircraft in 2 waves launched from 6 aircraft carriers. Of the 80 United States Navy battleships present, all were damaged or 4 were sunk. All but USS Arizona were later raised, and 6 were returned to service and went on the fight in the war. The Japanese also sank or damaged 3 cruisers, 3 destroyers, an anti-aircraft training ship, and 1 mine layer. More than 180 US aircraft were destroyed. A total of 2,393 Americans were killed and 1,178 others were wounded, making it the deadliest event ever recorded in Hawaii. Important base installations such as the power station, dry dock, shipyard maintenance, and fuel and torpedo storage facilities, as well as the submarine piers and headquarters building were not attacked. Japanese losses were light, 29 aircraft and 5 major submarines were lost, and 129 servicemen killed. Kazuo Sakamaki, the commanding officer of one of the submarines, was captured. Japan declared war on the United States and the British Empire later that day, but the declaration was not delivered until the following day. The British government declared war on Japan immediately after learning that their territory and had also been attacked, while the following day the United States Congress declared war on Japan on December 11, although they had no formal obligation to do so under the tripartite pact with Japan, Germany, and Italy. Each declared war on the United States, with a responded with a declaration of war against Germany and Italy. War between the Empire of Japan and the United States was seen as a possibility since the 1920s. Japan had been wary of American territorial and military expansion in the Pacific and Asia since the late 1890s, followed by the annexation of islands such as Hawaii and the Philippines, which they felt were close to or within their sphere of influence. At the same time, Japanese strategic thinkers believed that Japan needed economic self-sufficiency in order to wage modern war. The experiences of World War I had taught the Japanese that modern wars would be protracted, require total mobilization, and create vulnerabilities for trade embargoes and encirclement. As a consequence, Japan needed access to strategically important resources that could not be extracted at sufficient levels in the home islands. In mid-1940, President Franklin Roosevelt moved the Pacific Fleet from San Diego to Hawaii. He also ordered a military buildup in the Philippines, taking both actions in the hope of discouraging Japanese aggression in the Far West. Because the Japanese High Command was mistakenly certain any attack on the United Kingdom's Southeast Asian colonies, including Singapore, would bring the United States into a war. A devastating preventive strike appeared to be the only way to prevent American naval interference. An invasion of the Philippines was also considered necessary by Japanese war planners. The American war planners had envisioned defending the Philippines with an elite force of 40,000 men. This option was never implemented due to opposition from Douglas MacArthur, who felt he would need a force 10 times that size. By 1941, American planners expected to have abandoned the Philippines at the outbreak of war. Later that year, Admiral Thomas C. Hart, commander of the United States Asiatic Fleet, was given orders to that effect. The United States finally ceased oil export to Japan in July 1941, following the seizure of French Indochina after the fall of France, in part because of new American restrictions on domestic oil consumption. Because of this decision, Japan proceeded with plans to take the oil-rich Dutch East Indies. On August 17, Roosevelt warned Japan that America was prepared to take opposing steps if neighboring countries were attacked. Preliminary planning for an attack on Pearl Harbor to protect the move into the southern resource area, the Japanese term for the Dutch East Indies, and Southeast Asia generally, began early in 1941 under the auspices of Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, then commanding Japan's combined fleet. He won assent to formal planning and training for an attack from the Imperial Japanese Navy General Staff only after much contention with naval headquarters, including a threat to resign his command. Full-scale planning was underway by early spring 1941, primarily by Rear Admiral Ryusuke Kusaka, with assistance from Commander Minoru Ginda and Yamamoto's Deputy Chief of Staff, Captain Kamiuto Kuroshima. Planners started at 1940 British air attack on the Italian fleet at Tarantua intensively. In late 1941, many observers believed that hostilities between the United States and Japan were imminent. A Gallup poll just before the attack on Pearl Harbor found that 52% of Americans expected war with Japan, 27% did not, and 21% had no opinion. While American Pacific bases and facilities had been placed on alert on many occasions, officials doubted Pearl Harbor would be the first target. Instead, they expected the Philippines to be attacked first. This presumption was due to the threat that the air bases throughout the country and the naval base at Manila posed to sea lanes, as well as to the shipment of supplies to Japan from territory to the south. They also incorrectly believed that Japan was not capable of mounting more than one